Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. How you doing, brother?
Well, I'm nervous because you say I've got a topic. I'm like, okay, want to brief me? Like, nope.
I normally don't brief you. I just came off the office hours for the activation method group, as you know, Tim, and it's just such a great group of guys. For those guys that don't know, so our activation method is our core program that men come through, and we keep the groups really small, right? Keep them to a max of 9 guys. And on top of that, of going through it with our group, with our coaches, Tim and I jump on to calls once a week with these guys. And it's office hours, right? The guys bring their biggest issue or concern or question to the table, and we answer that for them. And again, just a phenomenal group of men coming through there. And I'm just so charged coming off that call that I thought I would just throw one of the questions that one of the guys did, or a scenario, and see how you'd respond, Tim. And you do this so well that I didn't think you would need any prep.
Okay, whatever.
No, truly, it won't be an issue for you. So one of the questions that came up from a guy, and I'm going to totally paraphrase and change around the scene a little bit here, but essentially, he has been initiating sex with his wife for the past 15 years or so. And he's tired of it. He wants her to initiate. So recently she initiated. Awesome, right? And wanted to do it. And he said no. Because he feels like, well, I won't tell you what he feels like. But anyway, he said no. And he wants her to keep initiating. And that's his scenario, yet he's turning her down. What advice would you give this guy, Tim?
She's not a guy. If you're going to keep turning her down, typically women are not necessarily going to enjoy that and keep coming back for more. They're not going to feel desired anyway if you keep turning them down. I mean, if you're going to turn her down, I think you got to give us some context to it as well. Maybe something like, hey, look, you know what? I'd fucking love to do this right now. And I'm just exhausted or whatever. But even then, I'm thinking of times when I've said that to Amelia within 5 minutes we're having sex. Like, I just, as soon as it almost comes out of my mouth, I realize how stupid it sounds, and I'm already getting turned on just by the thought of turning down sex. So, I mean, one, you're getting what you asked for. So, you're giving kind of mixed signals. If you're saying, hey, I want you to initiate more, or whatever the conversation was, and then she does, and it maybe isn't the right time, or it sounds kind of strange saying these things, but if it wasn't the right time or in the right way or whatever, and it didn't work for you, then there is a conversation you could have. If it didn't work for you the way that she did it, maybe that opens up a conversation around what turns each of you on. Maybe she hasn't tried to initiate for so long, and she's doing what she used to do when you guys first got together, and that just doesn't work for you anymore. I mean, that's a great opportunity to open up a conversation there. But regardless, I think, if she's initiating and you turn her down, then I can't, without context and conversation, like I just said, you can't expect her to do it again. Like, guys, we kind of relish the challenge, right? We're going to come back, and the woman wants to be desired as well. And, it's a tricky one, turning the woman down in this way, especially when a lot of women, and most women, have this story in their mind that guys just want to have sex. That's all they want. And, there is a lot of truth to that. And I think something that isn't spoken about often enough, honestly, is also men want to be connected to the woman too. I mean, they need to be a lot less connected to want to have sex with them than the woman needs to be to the guy, typically. But still, sex is way more enjoyable, way more passionate, way more intense and spontaneous and all those fun things when you feel connected to the woman that you're with, right? So, again, I'm kind of repeating myself here. If I was you, final thing, I would love the fact that she initiated. I'd look at what you're doing right as well, because clearly you're doing certain things right. I'd keep on doing those. And if you are going to turn her down in the future, I'd turn her down in a very playful way that makes it more like a game and makes her excited for the next time you're going to play it, or at least a bit curious, because the way that you turn it down might be a bit cocky and playful versus, honestly, potentially coming across like, I really do not mean this with any disrespect, but potentially coming across a little bit more feminine to her and a little bit more like a woman might respond, because that could potentially turn her off completely from the idea of, hang on a minute, what's even going on here? So I think a lot of things just to consider and be aware of, really.
Those are great points. And some of the ones we talked about on the call, something that I noticed from this as well was, here you have a man who's been pursuing a woman and he decides, okay, there's going to be a shift here. I want her to initiate, and then rebuffs her initiation. And what can happen for a lot of us guys is we can choose or decide that we're going to push our partners away to see if they come back. Do you love me? So I'm going to rebuff your advances to see if you come back stronger. And a lot of men do this. It's a very passive aggressive behavior. I did this. So that's why I could recognize this so much in this gentleman. And a lot of the other guys on the call agreed. But we become passive aggressive. And what we want to do is prove that they're serious, prove that our partners, or anybody in our lives, but in this case, our partners, really want to be with us. So we'll put them at arm's length, right? We'll push them back a little bit just to see what their reaction is, right? Do they keep coming back for more? The other thing we want to make sure we do, and Tim, you talked about this, is if we do rebuff our partners, we want to tell them why. We make sure they know it's not them. Because there's sometimes you could just be tired, you could be sick to your stomach, and you're like, man, I don't want to poop in the bed or whatever it is. And you could just say, babe, look, I love you and I'd love to have sex with you, but right now I'm not feeling connected. And I want the times that you and I have sex to be special. Or something along those lines where you're reinforcing what you want and you're letting her know it's not her. You see, guys, your woman has been fighting off men since she was probably like 13 years old, which can sound grotesque, but that's just statistically, women talk about this all the time. Men have been trying to get in their pants since they were very young. And here they are at 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever their age may be. And now they're going, hey, I want to get in your pants. And you're going, no. And they're going, wait a minute, what's wrong here? I've had a lifetime of conditioning saying a man wants this. And if you don't want this, then what's wrong with me? That becomes her story. Mm-hmm. And that can really set your sexual life back unless you frame it. Hey, look, I'd love to do this right now. I'm not feeling well, or I'm not into it. It's nothing to do with you. I just want to be more connected. Let's sit down and have a conversation, or I just need my space right now. Let's revisit this tomorrow, or something along those lines. And then you're maintaining the frame. Now, maybe seen as more feminine, but you can do this in a very masculine, playful way, as Tim was talking about, kind of that cocky way that Tim, that you're great at doing, that kind of playful energy. But also, I want to know, are you doing this to punish her? Are you doing this to punish her from an infidelity or for a lie or for whatever? Or are you doing this to test her to see, does she really love you? Is she really going to come back twice as strong? Because we as men, we do that a lot. We do that to test our partner. Sometimes we'll just be completely silent to them and we'll ignore them because they didn't do a behavior that we wanted them to do. And we'll act as if they're not in the room, or we'll just kind of grunt. Yeah. How's your day? Good. Because we're mad. And what we're really doing is we're punishing them for behavior that we didn't like. And we're punishing them emotionally for that behavior. And so you want to ask yourself, are you doing that in this situation? Because if you're doing that in the situation, you're being more like a teenager. And I say that with respect because I got a lot of teenager in me, as Tim knows. And so I rebel a lot. And I did this in my marriage, where I chose to punish my wife for not acting the way I wanted her to act. So maybe I would withhold sex. Maybe I withhold laughter, withhold conversation, withhold cuddling, or whatever I chose to do at the time, because I was being passive aggressive, either showing her that I had the power, or I'd push her away with the hope that she would come back. It's kind of that thing, I love you, don't leave me. but you're pushing.
Mm. Yeah, it's kind of like there can be elements of tit for tat as well, right? Oh, okay. So now you want to have it, and because you want to have it, I'm expected to say yes. Well, all those times you said no, I'm going to say no just to get one back on you. It
I'm not
just
just a
enters
piece of
into
meat.
horse trading. What's that?
I'm not just a piece of meat.
um, it just enters into horse trading, right? You don't want your relationship to be at that level where, so if you are thinking thoughts like that in the scenario, then I'd really encourage you, like Doug was saying, to actually look at what's beneath it for you and actually what you really want, right? If you don't want to have sex, go, why don't you want to have sex? Right? Is it because there's some ulterior motive like we're talking about here? Or is it because you just don't feel like having sex? Be it because maybe you were just not in the mood, or you're tired, or you're ill, or whatever. Or maybe the way that sex has been initiated just doesn't work for you anymore. At which point, those last two, I mean, all three of them can really pave the way for great conversations that then can lead to further intimacy, whereby sex can just naturally be the outcome because by default you feel more connected and you've been, opening up about things.
100%. And the key here is you can make this. Now, look, all of us as men, I assume all of us, I'll say most of us, we want to have sex when a woman's into it, right? When she's really wants it as well, right? Or she wants to get into it. That's when it's fun, right? At the same time, we want to be pursued from time to time. We want to feel desired. And that's okay too. So we know women want to be what? Heard, seen, and desired. Those three elements. If you can combine those three elements, you're doing really well, guys. And it's okay for you to want to be desired. So I had a conversation with my wife, Tim. This came off of, I think, one of the guys in the Brotherhood having a conversation with his wife, which I really actually inspired me. And I told my wife, I said, you know what? Every once in a while, it's nice to be desired as well. And my wife said, well, as a woman, you like to be pursued, da, da, da. I said, yes, as a human, you also like to be desired and proven to. And that's why, because my wife really likes it when I initiate. In her dream world, it'd be 100% of the time, I would just initiate. Right? That's just what she likes. We have a very polar masculine feminine relationship when it comes to our sex life. However, every once in a while, I like it when she pursues. So I sat her down in a playful energy and explained it to her. Yeah, but every once in a while, it's just fun when you pursue. It just kind of makes it more of a cat and mouse game. We get to have fun with it. And she got it. But I had the conversation with her, and I had the conversation with her in a very fun energy rather than an accusatory energy. And that created a very playful energy to be in there, and making sure you're still playing with your wife, playing with your partner, rather than playing games. And that was the conclusion we came to with this gentleman when I said, hey, is there any chance you're just playing games right now? Rather than going for what you want, you're playing games. And a lot of us do. Let's just be real. A lot of us play games in our relationships. We don't want to get hurt, so we start playing games. We don't want to get hurt, so we keep our partner at arm's length. We don't want to get hurt, so we're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We don't want to get hurt, so we're scared to initiate after getting rejection. But it's when you go into the eye of that storm anyway that things really, really happen. That's when the magic is there. And that's where the alpha wolf, right? Wise, open, loving, fierce wolf. That's where he shows up. And he's able to play. That's a powerful energy to be in.
Sure is. You raise a great point about the tone of the conversation. You don't want to sit down as though you're talking, having a business meeting.
No, well, I want to do a whole separate podcast on that subject because that came up as well. But you're 100% right. And most of us do. So, guys, if you find yourself in this situation, right? When you find yourself in this situation where your partner's finally initiating sex with you, right? Finally going for it. And you assume she's interested. Because that was a question that came up too. One of the guys said, look, what if she's doing it just because she feels she needs to? Right? What do you do then, Doug? And I said, and I'll come back to the things you guys could do. I said, in that case, for me, and only for me, this isn't for everybody, a global thing. If my wife comes to me and she's just doing it because she wants to, because she thinks she needs to do it, I'm not going to be as into it. I'll just say, look, babe, I love you. And I appreciate that you're willing to do this for me. It means a lot to me. but I want us to be more connected. I want us to have passionate sex. I wouldn't probably say connected, but I'd say passionate sex when you're really into it. You know, I may settle for a blowjob or something else, you know. But you know, we all have access. We also have access. We all have access to porn. So I mean, you know, having sex with somebody who's not into it is akin to just jerking off for me. Like it's not as fun. So I would take that approach rather than just accepting it, you know, because then I feel like I'm getting scraps, and I don't want scraps. I want the full meal. I want to savor it. I want it to be gourmet all the time. So if you find yourself in this situation, guys, what I'm going to ask you is, one, are you being passive aggressive? Honestly, are you saying no to your wife because you're trying to punish her or prove a point or see if she's really loves you because you're testing her? If so, that's the wrong energy to be in. It's not a dominant energy. It's a very submissive, feminine, passive energy to be in. It's not the lighthouse. It's not the wolf that we talk about here on this show. Also, ask yourself, are you cleaning it up in such a manner that she realizes it's not about her? It's about you. You're choosing not to, and letting her know, and just realizing men and women are different. We've all been conditioned differently. And women have been conditioned that men always want sex. They always want to have sex. And so if a man doesn't, that means there's something wrong with them. And that could be a hard thing to come back from, guys. A very hard thing for a woman to come back from psychologically. If she starts to condition herself, there's something wrong with me. And where this leads to, unfortunately, is when another man starts showing interest and she thinks, there's something wrong with me for my husband, but this guy likes it. Now I can go get my validation over there. It happens more than you think, guys. It happens more than you think. So, gentlemen, what is it for you? What is happening for you when you're in this situation? Let us know. Go over to the free Facebook group. That's where a lot of these great conversations are happening, guys. We're picking up this information. I'd like to know what happens for you in this situation going through. Tim, as always, great insights. I love catching you off guard a little bit, but as always, you handle it masterfully as you do. And gentlemen, as we always say in the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.